Good morning and welcome to the Supply Chain at the Edge of Tomorrow roundtable discussion. For those whom I haven't had the pleasure nor the honor to meet before, my name is Karim and I'm the editor of Logistics Middle East, and I'll be your host and moderator for today. On behalf of myself, the Logistics Middle East team, and ITP Media Group, I would like to extend thanks to each and every one of you for joining us today and taking the time to contribute to advancing the industry. I would also like to thank our partners Pando for their continuous support of the logistics and supply chain sectors and their efforts to push the industry forward. Now, in today's discussion, our goal is to underscore the key supply chain pain points across different industry segments, and that's why we have representatives from different segments across the industry, and how we can further tap into the solutions available in the market and also the market specific challenges facing the Saudi market, how we can further integrate emerging technologies in addressing these challenges. As I said, the Saudi market will be our main focus for today, and we'll try to tap into the market specific challenges and how they can be adequately addressed. We'll start with a keynote speech from the Chief Revenue Officer of the for the MEA and the APAC regions at Pando, Parvish Guy, and then move on to our first discussion session for today. Parvish, can you hear us?
Let me make it a little bit of a different effort and try this out, and bear with me if I'm not able to get it right. So let me say, Sabole Heron. And as I said, my small attempt to be able to make it, and I'll make another attempt. I'll say Alan B. So thank you everyone, really pleasure to be a part of it. Thank you so much for coming over and spending this morning with us. I think it's a great opportunity for us to be able to learn from all the industry leaders. I thought what I'll try to do is I'll just try to give very quick overview for 15 odd minutes. Just a brief background. I lead the business for Pando for Asia Pacific and Middle East region, but I come after spending a lot of time in the technology world, working with some of the large enterprise software organizations like Oracle, Microsoft, and SAP. I've spent 13 odd years with SAP in my last role, where I was leading the business for few industries, CPG, life sciences, retail industries in the country as a part of the country leadership team, only restricted to India. So as I said, I've never been to Saudi. It was a great opportunity, but I'm looking forward as we interact, spend some time to be able to learn. We have quite a bit of customer conversations going on. As we are learning and engaging with customers across different geographies, and we have spent quite a bit of time in UAE. This is our small, humble attempt to start engaging with the leaders in the Saudi Arabia region. And what we have seen is that there are different organizations who have approached these disruptive times in very, very unique, different way. And one common theme which is emerging is that technology continues to play a very, very strong role. So I'll briefly talk about what we are seeing to be able to give an outside-in perspective. But I thought before I go to the technology part of it, let me just briefly talk about what are the key macro trends from Middle East region perspective that we are seeing, which are driving the whole supply chain disruption or transformation, as we may call it as. I think the single biggest thing we are seeing as Middle East region economies open up, we continue to remain enthused with the kind of vision the kingdom leadership has put in, the 2030 the vision that has been put in place. Largely, as we understand, it's to be able to make the whole region come out of the reliance on oil and diversify it into other sectors, with the key themes of trying to build vibrant society, build ambitious nation, and also set up the foundation for a thriving economy. I think as we learn and understand, if the economy has to thrive, diversification into new sectors across both manufacturing and services have to be at the core of it. And whether it's the services, e-commerce, retail, or the core manufacturing, what we have learned and seen globally in different parts of the world, a strong supply chain and logistics network becomes the key foundation for this whole transformation to take shape and take place, right? Especially in a huge geographically spread out economy like Saudi Arabia. We've also seen that over the last 2.5 years, as the pandemic struck and the organizations really struggled to be able to produce their products or deliver the products to the customers, there was a big void where initially organizations started looking at moving from complete physical to a complete online world. And I think as COVID-led disruptions have settled down and the world has started recalibrating their economies of their businesses, a new word of phygital is evolving, which is a mix of physical and the digital world. I think most of the organizations have felt the need to try and repivot their go-to-market strategies and the business models around what we call it as a phygital or a omni-channel driven world. We are also seeing organizations like Amazon, or in Saudi in particular, organizations like AliExpress or Mercado Libre or Jazzp, etc. They are raising the bar of customer service, where customers have really appreciated or started demanding a significantly different experience in the way they deal with the brands, right? Which could be in terms of communication, in terms of offers, in terms of the way any touch point of the brand that they experience. I think the expectations have gone significantly higher, and brands have or large organizations have a significant challenge to be able to see how do they continue to meet these significantly different or high customer experience expectations that the consumers are demanding for them to continue to remain loyal to the brands, right? Plus, we have seen that globally in different parts of the world, every organization, every economy is trying to build a sustainable future for their respective industries or organizations or the countries. Idea was to try and see how do they reduce the whole carbon emission. So, if these are the key macro trends, let me just give a brief quick overview saying that, how does leveraging the technology with these macro trends come into play to be able to transform the whole supply chain. So if I look back 20 odd years, I'm in the whole technology, supply chain or the transformation world for last more than 20 odd years. What we have seen is that investments in the supply chain world started with large organizations starting to invest either in the product design for the manufacturing companies or in the network design for the distribution or the retail companies, so that they can see how do they put together a optimal network to see that the products are available at the right time at the right places to be able to serve the demand to the consumers. So the network design investment started, and then soon organizations realized that they need to get the whole supply chain backbone in place. Again, the whole objective of the supply chain investment was to try and ensure that there is a good alignment and balance between demand and availability of the products, so that brands can ensure that the right products are available in the right quantities at the right place at the right time to be able to serve the consumers. But we also saw that while supply chain planning world evolved, there were still continuously significant challenges, because the business side of the organization, the whole front office side of the organization, struggled to be able to adopt the supply chain planning platforms, largely because of lack of capabilities around the usability or the user experience or ability to be able to extend information on mobile devices, or a lot of predictability aspect which was needed and accepted. Hence, we saw that planning got restricted more towards supply side of world being planned, but the demand side really lagged. Over a period of last 4 or 5 years, we have seen very strongly new age platforms. I'm sure you would have heard about some of these Connexes, O9, etc. They evolve, and they are helping organizations to be able to address some of those adoption challenges with new age tech capabilities like cloud, AI, machine learning, mobile built into it, and they result into addressing some of those key historical challenges around planning related to how do you do the collaborative forecasting, how do you do the real-time demand sensing, right? The idea is that tech platforms facilitate organizations to sense the real-time demand across channels, across locations, so that they can have an agile supply chain to be able to ensure products are available again at the right time, right place, the right quantities, across the channels to be able to cater to this demand. While planning got evolved, how about the execution world? We still see that in the execution side, which is where when you have produced the products, how do you ensure that these products reach across various channels into your downstream distribution network in the most efficient way? Because you could do all right branding, right manufacturing of products, or right planning, but if you don't get your execution right and you don't get these products delivered in the most efficient way, customer experience or customer expectations still continue to remain maybe a bit behind or broken. So typically, before I go to how does a typical end-to-end digital architecture of supply chain execution world look like, I thought I'll just briefly talk about what we have experienced in Middle East region. A typical distribution network for some of the large organizations look like will be that you have the manufacturing or imports of the products. Either you do the domestic raw material inbound movement of the raw material components or the products, and then you produce them locally in the region, or many organizations who import the products from outside the region, and then you have the distribution network of a large DC, and then a mix of distribution network of the regional DCs, which essentially ensure that the products gets distributed to the stores or the distributors in different parts of the region for the purpose of downstream distribution. And then you also have the e-commerce channels for last mile delivery or returns from your DCs directly delivering the products to the consumers. And similar way, many organizations who have the business beyond, let's say, Saudi or GCC region, they use a multimodal shipment models, leveraging road, sea, or air to be able to get the products being delivered in different parts of the geographies that they have the presence, and they address the downstream distribution to. Typically, this is what we have seen the distribution network of companies in the region look like. If I have to talk about how does an execution architecture for any large global or local organization look like, if you look at broadly, if I start from the bottom layer, it talks about the whole process value chain, which is procure to pay, starting from how does the organization procure carriers, how do you do the transportation or the multimodal planning, execution, optimization, saying that which modes you dispatch what kind of products to deliver to the entire downstream value chain, how do you do those pick, pack, ship operations, how do you bring the visibility as the products both on the inbound side or on the outbound side are in transit, and how do you do the whole freight payments and the cost allocations back into your core ERP platforms to be able to arrive at the profitability or the cost of products for the products across categories that you deliver to your customers. And this whole entire value chain could be then broken down into multi-modal kind of modes. You could have your inbound or outbound modes of shipments either through road or through ocean or through air or through rail. It could comprehensively have a multimodal backbone being supported, and then across various legs from inbound to outbound to last mile deliveries to imports or exports, return, or if you're dealing directly shipping the products to the consumers. And we do this across all the stakeholders in the value chain being on the same network, right? If I have to peel this little bit, I will not get too much into the details, but this is how the process capabilities of the entire process value chain looks like across the same blocks, starting from how does your organization do the freight, address the challenges of trying to find out whether you do spot or you do long-term contract, what are the benchmarks across various lanes as you do multimodal freight procurement. Technology could facilitate to bring a lot of these insights, benchmarks to be able to enable the whole freight procurement part of it, and then the whole mode selection, keeping in mind the constraints, the service levels, and the cost parts of it. Which modes do you use? What kind of downstream distribution network do you use? How do you do the whole dispatch plans, route optimizations, etc., to be able to plan the modes of transportation? And then the whole, while the products either on the inbound or the outbound leg gets planned, you have the end-to-end visibility so that your customers can see where are the products shipments currently, when are they expected to arrive, so that they can then plan to distribute those to the customers. And then you have two key elements of how do you get that whole regulatory compliance documents as the product shipments move across borders. And then the last piece of the whole, the supplier payments of multimodal supplier payments get digitally executed in an efficient way. I spent some time with some of the global organizations in Asia Pacific region in last couple of weeks, say the likes of Nestle or Coke. What I learned was the biggest challenge, I think, if a organization, a large global organization, has to look at trying to run the supply chains in the most efficient way and bring the visibility, I think the biggest challenge is how do you do this with a process backbone so that you are able to have a minimal turnaround time across various legs, and you do it in the most efficient way with real-time visibility of product shipments in the entire distribution network. I think those are a couple of big themes every large global organization is trying to rely on. What we've also seen is that some of the organizations who have invested in these areas, they have seen a significant value of their supply chain cost becoming quite low compared to the peer group companies in the industry. This is the data slide that I pulled out from what Gartner represents. Areas like procurement or the mode optimizations continue to offer significant opportunities to be able to deliver the products to the customer in a cost-effective or a cost-optimal way. And then there are different other areas around visibility, collaboration, productivity, etc., which all lead to the efficiency improvement in the way products get delivered to the customers. Just a quick representation of some of the large global brands that we partner with and work with, help them to be able to leverage technology on similar dimensions, to be able to really transform the way supply chains are being run. We also do partner with some of the large global consulting organizations who look at our technology platform to do the deployments. But more than that, I wanted to give a quick view on the bottom part of the slide that we work very closely with multimodal carriers in our ability to be able to get the real-time integrations done with multimode carriers, whether it's air or whether it's ocean or whether it's road, to be able to bring the real-time visibility as well as collaborate with them as the extended partner ecosystem as the shipments happen. In a small way, while we are trying to do some bit of work to make World a sustainable place, I think earlier this year we took pride that World Economic Forum, which held its conference in Davos a couple of months back, recognized Pando as one of the top 100 tech pioneer companies for 22 at a global scale. And I think we continue to make a huge inroad in helping brands to become much more affordable, accessible, and deliver products in a more sustainable and environment friendly way. They, deliver the products and continue to expand their growth and scale across different regions. This was a very quick, brief overview I wanted to give, just a different perspective about how post-pandemic world is looking at trying to leverage digital platforms to run and build sustainable supply chains to be able to transform the business.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Pradesh.
Thank you so much.
That was very insightful. Okay, gents, before we start our discussion, I would like to start off by going around the table and getting to know you better, so that your peers, your industry peers, would have a better idea about your segment in the industry. Shall we start with you, Samah?
Okay, Samah Goma, CEO for Rashri Real Estate Investment. And we work basically in real estate. Real estate touch base on all kind of products, all kind of services, where definitely we don't deal directly with the supply chain organizers or people who actually design that, but we are the demand. We need at a certain time. So this is how we are involved in the supply chain industry and management process.
Thank you. Hamid Guna, I'm the supply chain lead for a restaurant chain in Saudi Arabia called Shawarma. I've spent the last 25 years of my life in the food industry. I used to work with young brands across the Middle East, Europe, and now in Saudi with Shawarma.
Hassan from my school company, supply chain manager. We are dealing a restaurant base, which is multi-cuisine of international brands. You may well know some of the brands like Nusrat, Hookah, and Hakkasan, Chibrono, all these brands come up with our group on that. We do logistics directly and some with 3PL and 4PL, depend on the requirement. Yes, of course, we are fully involved with supply chain division for the getting products like food and beverage or even equipment or some OSM parts, all these things.
I am Nayyar Hussain. I am Senior Supply Chain Manager in UAE Group. I have spent almost 22 years in supply chain, industrial supply chain. I am not into retail, neither I am into the food FMCG business. But yes, For the industrial supply chain, I worked in Saudi Arabia for two companies, Saudi Ceramics, and now with Al Ghali Group for the last 4 years. I was in Dubai as well, in one of the construction company who built the sports city. I was logistics manager then. Before that, I was in Oman with Bahwan, who are one of the known business in Oman. So I spent almost most of my life in GCC. And I am into industrial supply chain, so I'm looking for end-to-end supply chain from the planning until the finished goods are delivered to the customer.
Ashik, I'm Director of Gateways and First Mile and Aviation in Ajax. I was in this industry almost now 14 years. I was ex-NACL as well. Logistics in majorly in gateways and B2B, B2C clearance and aviation.
Usama Akra, I'm the Managing Director of Apple Renew Logistics. Been in the industry for 27 years now. I was 5 when I started. Sure. So I've been in Saudi for the past 13 years. We provide 3PL services, warehousing, freight forwarding, transportation, domestically, cross-border also, and express services. I'm here today to learn and to share thoughts with all of you.
Thank you.
My name is Naeem Batawi. I'm from Rabia Saudi Food Company. I'm Chief Supply Chain Officer. Almost experience of 2 decades. So I think.
Did you start at 5 as well? Did you start at 5 as well?
No, I started after graduation. So I think as what I see from the expertise, inshallah, here we can get a lot of experience also, and maybe we'll find some solutions and discuss some solutions for the issues that we are facing in the logistic worldwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mohammed Siraj. I'm the Group CFO of Khadi Group as well as CFO of Sajal Express. We do mainly predominantly last mile delivery, warehousing, clearance, fulfillment, door to door. I've been in this industry for the past 5 years, previously in travel, and we were basically shipping passengers, now we're
Shipping goods.
So it's been a journey of 13 years, brought up here, grew up, so know much of the Saudi very well, been in all the 3 major cities, so that's me.
Perfect. Thank you. Nice to meet you all, and thank you once again for joining us today. Okay, without further ado, let's start with our discussion for today. So this session will try and focus on the manufacturing and distribution side, as well as the investment side as well. Now, from your standpoint, and this is a question for everyone on the table, how did the ongoing disruptions, supply chain disruptions, impact the already vulnerable global supply chains, and of course your businesses in brief?
When it comes to disruptions, the core disruption has been in our retail business, and that is as because of the supply chain. And what we see is the yo-yoing of demand and supply constraints post-COVID. Where we started off with 2019, which was good, and then there was a supply problem, we had supply bottlenecks, and then we had a demand hike somewhere in mid-COVID, and then we see again a supply issue, and now we are talking about a global recession. It's again a demand issue. So this has been quite cycling, and I think that's, when it comes to disruptions, probably the retail in terms of getting our goods from China, the lead times has changed. Previously, when we used to get, because we have seasonal business, which is between October to March, previously we used to get somewhere in in July, August, which now we have brought it to April, May, in terms of the lead times have changed. I think the core disruptions are the prices have shot up containers, it's very difficult. But when it comes to, if you look into the last mile, I think that's been a bit different. Because of the boom in the e-commerce, it's kind of brought in a lot of business in the past 2 to 3 years. But what we noticed was the new normal, as Parvez mentioned, the phygital is what happened. It was not only the digital or core digital. It was in fact, it was not the real new normal, but there was something in between, because people have gone back to the malls, e-commerce has been a bit volatile in terms of demand in the past few years, especially in the past few months. But we see that in this whole disruptions, there were a lot of new technologies that came in, which was again catering to the needs of the e-commerce business, mainly the Q-commerce and the fast deliveries, and we also noticed much of this was not sustainable in as a business model per se, and we can see that in the market with a lot of the Q-commerce companies going bust. Some are shrinking in size, and I think where I see probably in terms of our business is as long as e-commerce is booming, I think we would see a lot of disruptions basically in the last mile logistics.
Perfect. Do you agree, Osama?
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I think we have here manufacturing companies and service providers. Everyone has been affected. Globally and also here locally, we've seen a trend change in supply chain models as well. I mean, the move from just in time to just in case. People started now more looking for warehousing opportunities within the kingdom. We talk about proximity storage, similar to what happened in the past when logistics was created by military. Logistics is good at time of war and time of peace. They moved to proximity fulfillment for troops, similar to that, and I think that's what led now the new concepts, and everyone's talking about resilience. Resilience is the key word now in logistics. You need to be prepared for pandemics, for changes, earthquakes, or just supply stuff, like what's happening in China now. We've seen, I think all of us have seen the shipping vessels or roaming around ports and stuff, and everything is now being impacted. So I think, yes, there is a change in the mentality first, in the supply chain models, the use of technology now, the transactional aspect now of shipping. No one is having a yearly rate, for example. You cannot. Everything is becoming transactional. So which opens doors now for a change, a shift in the market as well. If we take the shipping, maritime shipping, for example. Now you have the vessel owners and the shipping companies directly competing with freight forwarders. So we see this shift, and now I think within a couple of years, this will be replaced as a freight forwarding function will no more be there, but there's now the introduction of digital freight forwarders, which now I've seen a study recently, around 57% of the global B2B entities are planning to move to digital freight forwarding within the next 5 years. And around 60% have already started using them. We've started this year in 2022, we have the 3 first unicorns coming from digital freight forwarding, which is something we never thought about in the past. So we have 3 companies now, unicorns. They're very known, and I'm sure Pando is looking after that a lot also on monitoring, and hopefully Pando also will be the first supply chain solutions provider that will be unicorn as well. So definitely technology is key. Resilience is key at all levels, and I think we just need to work a little bit more together. Co-opetition, we were talking about it this morning. It's about competition now going forward. We need to complement each other and choose your niche and continue in that. Let's not spread ourselves in the market, because it's just not going to add value, especially to customers.
Thank you. Now, since you brought up the transition and the changes that have happened in the market, I would like to get insights from the manufacturing side of things as well. Now, how did these disruptions impact your business models and operating models?
For sure, it's a big impact there because of the shortage that lead us to, let's say, rationalize our even the stock we have. Rationalize the manpower, rationalize all these things. Also review all the our business plan, trying to let's say be flexible with these challenges in the market. It used to be the issue to look at the prices, look at the shipping. Now it's availability.
Absolutely.
Just okay, I have the money, but I need. Even the demand that we have is increasing, unfortunately. availability of the
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I think this is good news, eh?
Up to now, I think who's with us in the food sector, they will touch the shortage of mango, shortage of orange concentrate, a lot of fruits. It's now the nature also punished us because what we have done before. So I think it's one of the constraints, and I think the digital will, let's say, help us a lot to have, let's say, pool of suppliers, shortage of the process that we have, also reduce the timing, reduce the cost, and especially when we are talking about the manufacturing, 70% goes for the cost that side. If you can reduce the process of the purchasing, this use of through the technology, that means a lot for manufacturing.
Moving on to the food and beverage industry, what key technologies or what key practices have you implemented in your operations to mitigate the risks of these disruptions?
As my colleagues here hinted earlier, I mean, the model of the supply chain has changed significantly, I would say, between the COVID and the restrictions to the war and what's happening. I totally agree with you. It's all about availability right now. Nobody's caring about the cost, about the transparency even of the product to a certain extent. Unfortunately, it's all about, can I get the product at the right time, the right product at the right time in my warehouse or not? So it's a major challenge. Add to this, in a place like GCC here in generally, and particularly in Saudi Arabia, there is a lot of new regulations that's happening as well in the market to organize this several industries, and one of them is the food business, of course. So there is a lot of updates and challenges that come internally as well, and in a market where you majority of your raw materials is imported from outside. You're relying on several places around the world, not internally. So to be honest with you, I mean, yes, the technology that has been implemented, it's more of a long-term projects rather than in the short term, because we are in a firefighting mood for the last couple of years, I would say. It's not more of a planning ahead and getting, okay, what I'm going to do in the next 5 years or 10 years. It's part of the discussion, of course, and we look into this one. But the time you spend on a daily basis on the firefighting is way much more than the time you spend on planning. Unfortunately, it is the current situation at the moment. We actually, in my business, because of the current situation, we moved on from having our own distribution and logistics to give it a third party to try to get more and more actually efficiency on the line, get better service, blah blah blah, and you're focusing on availability and try to get your products on time and everything, and leave this distribution as much as you can. So I think the shift that I have seen personally myself is starting to outsource service, try to give it more to professional people that they can actually provide you with much better service, and you leave your time and your team to be dedicated for what you can do and provide.
From my understanding, you outsourced this, is it only because you're super busy with actually fighting the fire, or is it the visibility as well? So if you were to have more solutions in the market that would give you that proper visibility, would it make it easier from your side of things to manage the impact?
Of course, it would make a change. It would make a major change, to be honest with you, yes.
Okay. Hassan, would you like to add anything from the food and beverage?
I'm totally agree with Mr. Rahim. Yes, we are facing a big problem with availability, even though we are ready to spend. Whenever we see
regardless
stock
if you have
level,
the money or not.
Yeah. And of course the time frame which is promised with 1 month, 1.5 months, something, and it leads to 2 months, 2.5 months in terms of shipping and content. Every time we get the message that no, content is still on the way, it's not cleared, all these things. And in F&B we are relying almost 50% of the items imported, especially in Europe and Australia, Brazil, some of them in Thailand, Asian cuisine. So of course we need a very clean way of logistics which is end-to-end. And we are facing this very hugely in Saudi market right now.
As much as I would love to continue speaking about the challenges, I would like to actually move temporarily to the bright aspect of things, investments. Now, what key segments do you see rising in significance for investors, especially in supply chain, in the supply chain sector?
Well, we have to adapt to what's happening, and at the moment there is for us as a real estate, we used to concentrate on hospitality projects, residential projects. At the moment, we are thinking about smart solution warehouses, how we can actually invest in that. So, as Osama said, you need a lot of warehouses so that you can store your material there for the coming 6, 7, 8 months. Strategic wise, when we hear one of the ministers or something saying that we have wheat that covers us for another 6 months, all this need something on ground, where the real estate investors will start to think on, instead of lodging people, let's lodge material and goods and all this kind of requirement for the society. Technology is playing a big part in that, of course, and especially when you have a warehouse, smart warehouse like IKEA model or something, it's very easy to find your material and all this stuff. But the thing is that we also missing the hardware. We have the software, but the hardware, where the companies who are doing the transfer of goods and transfer of material. So this is what is the main issue happening. The container shortages, the wars which is happening everywhere, which doesn't allow you to pass from certain area or something like that. So I'll take 1973 war for Egypt. I mean, people start using the Vasco da Gama way instead of doing the Suez Canal. So that added 4, 5, 6 months to it. Freight and logistic is very essential, especially in this world which we are living now. In my opinion, we are also going into another place where some people are taking care of, which is the metaverse.
Okay.
I think very soon we are not going to be keen to buy real nice clothes in our real life. We will buy it online, and it will come to us online, and we will wear it online. And I'll give a small example where I was sitting and what's this metaverse and all this thing. And then I realized that my kids are in the metaverse. They are having game, which they're sitting with me playing it. And my son, by mistake, my credit card was there and he charged me $300 because he wants to buy gadgets.
By mistake?
By mistake.
Okay.
Because I had my card in his app. So I was like, what's this 300? He said, I bought this and some grenades and gadgets and things, so I look cool in the thing. So this also is going to take us to another place where maybe the hardware will be less, but the software will
be more predominant.
Increase. At the moment, we are starting with documents. I don't have to sign, stamp, and seal and send anymore. Mm-hmm. I just sign, stamp, seal, send by a click. So that also will reduce. It will balance itself, in my opinion. As I said, from investment point of view, as a real estate, we started looking at how we can cater for all manufacturers and all suppliers and all F&B, how we can give them smart solution in terms of warehouses to help the logistic people in doing that. For us, and an ongoing project, we have to plan. The risk mitigation started to have 6, 7 layers instead of it was one line. If this happens, we'll do that. Now, it's for each and every material at the moment I'm having, steel, concrete, cement, everything. I have to put my risk mitigation. If it added, if it reduced, I have to add clauses to the contracts, which will help us to, if it goes up, the contractor doesn't suffer. If it goes down, we don't suffer. I mean, so there are now, instead of having a lump sum contract, there is a cost plus, there is a remeasure. You start inventing more ways of contractual obligations with your contractors or suppliers or whoever you are dealing with. And all is this drive due to logistics and what's happening in the world.
From a pure business point of view, now, how did the rise in e-commerce, for instance, over the past years, which is continuing over the years ahead, how did it impact your operations? Because now people are looking for more space, not only more space, but also more technology involved.
Yeah.
How did it impact your operations?
As I told you, we're trying to spot. We have a huge bank of land. Thankfully, our group is one of the biggest. So we choose the prime location, which are near the ports, near airports, and all. And we start developing it as warehouses. We are developing the infrastructure. And the second thought for us, our investment department is working on at the moment, is doing the warehouse itself, invest ourselves in that, and becoming a hub for the logistic people so that they can use and rent it for 10 years, 25 years, or whatever. So, of course, having the e-commerce also going into the market, and people like Amazon, they want a logistic city. We have a huge bank of land which we're thinking of doing it like Amazon standard or Noon standard or whatever company comes to the market standard, so that we can cater for them. During the pandemic, I myself faced a lot. I wanted to buy this sports things so that I can do at home because I'm sitting at home. Till today, I didn't get the things I bought. Seriously, till today, I didn't get. The product is not in
The availability.
They have
again.
to come from outside. With the pandemic and the lockdown and all this thing, it never came. And it got lost somewhere, I don't know.
Can I just add to your point? I think what has happened is in the disruption in the warehousing and boom in the e-commerce, it's ultimately the proximity to the consumer. So we have this micro-fulfillment centers coming within the cities.
Sure.
Whereas the old days it was outside the cities. Now it's within the cities in a 5-kilometer radius. So what happens is, where we see with the boom in e-commerce is that people want to be near the customer and not away from the customer. So you can meet the requirements of this TikTok generations who wants quick deliveries,
Everything
2
is on
hours,
spot.
3 hours. That can happen when you have completely end-to-end automated micro fulfillment centers. And this is like a 5-kilometer radius with top 10, 50 SKUs. This is where we see in terms of investments in the micro fulfillment centers that will come fully automated across the cities, within the cities. As he mentioned, it's more proximity to the consumer, which is evolving as we see.
We are also looking for partners like the logistic companies and to come and sit together. We will invest, we will do everything, and you take it and run it yourself. So it's becoming like a hotel operator. You build the hotel as an owner, and then the Marriott comes or Sheraton comes or whoever comes and run it for you. We are looking for logistic companies whom we can build to their standard, and they take it from us at the commitment of 20 years or something, not rent. We can do a profit share model, we can do so many other models where it can help them and help us in the business.
And can basically complement each
Exactly.
other's operations. Okay. Now, since everyone seems to agree that the main problem has been the shipping delays and disruptions, now, how can technology be better utilized in mitigating these delays? I think Parviz can help us with this.
I just gave it. Firstly, thank you again. I think it was good to learn and hear about the kind of challenges and the way every organization is looking at thinking about supply chains. While I gave a sort of a digital architecture or a blueprint, I think I've seen that some of the organizations who have done exceedingly well versus the ones who are still trying to see how do they leverage technology. I'll call it as the three things which really differentiate leaders versus some of the organizations who are still trying to grapple with. One, I think given the kind of disruptions world has seen, there are organizations who have taken a small incremental approach when it comes to technology or processes or trying to change the way they run their business. And we have seen that if you have a critical situation, the patient requires surgery and you try to put band-aids, it just does not go anywhere at all. So I think one fundamental difference we have seen is that in times like these, which are significant disruption, there is a huge variance in demand on a consistent basis and significant supply side challenges. I think organizations have to look at a transformation approach to processes technology rather than a small incremental approach to try and do some bit of band-aid and quick fix work. So that's one. Second, I think what we have seen is that many organizations, I think someone called out resilience in the supply chain is the next big thing and the key theme, right? How do you put together your BCP plans? How do you digitize the core processes? Once you have digitized the core processes, how do you leverage the power of data and harness to do a lot of predictions? For example, we work very closely with P&G, one of the large global, I believe one of the significantly innovative companies in Asia as we work with them. And we saw that P&G had digitized the entire end-to-end supply chain process value chain. And when the disruptions were happening, they were learning with the power of data to be able to predict where the next wave of lockdowns and the COVID disruptions happen. And they were proactively putting together plans to build inventory ahead of time before those lockdowns and disruptions happen, just by harnessing the power of data to predict lockdowns, build inventory, and I think in the process across few key categories, because they ensured that the right products were available at the right time, they were in a position to be able to take the market share away from competition. And we all know in consumer products industries, shifting brands is not easy because these are habits that you ask people to change, and once people change brands, they stay with them for a relatively longer period of time. So even if there is a small shift in the market share or the brand shift in certain categories, the impact over a long period of time for the large organizations is significantly huge. So I'll say second point is the resilience in supply chain. Third, and the most important thing, I think organizations try to look at technology in a bit of an isolated way to fix the execution challenges. But what we have seen is that some of the organizations who have tried to look at changing the culture in the way technology gets deployed, adopted, they have really gone a long distance, right? For example, instead of just doing technology-led projects, we have seen that some of the leaders in supply chain or at a business level or in the technology world have tried to bring in a different culture by seeking sponsorship from the leadership teams to be able to relook at the way organization looks at doing the business with the key elements of people, process and technology, right? So essentially I'm saying change the way culturally business is done with three elements of how do you get the right people, right processes and right technology with a view of transforming rather than incremental and with a view of building resilience in the way you run your business overall from the supply chain standpoint. I think these are the big areas where technology or a culture change or a transformation approach has helped organizations to create a big impact and take a leap of lead compared to the peer group companies in the respective industries or in the respective economies.
So let's try to be more specific. Now, what are the key technologies that you have seen growing in significance in the market with companies trying and struggling with these shipping delays and the ensuing rise in costs as well, in operating costs, and the shortages in raw components needed for manufacturing? What key technologies have you seen rising in significance and in demand as well?
I'll keep it brief. I've seen that I think some of the new age tech capabilities like AI, machine learning, or some bit of RPA or cloud capabilities are making huge difference in the way you can, as I said, predict, you can get some bit of historical data to be able to run your decisions and insights about the way you want to move forward into future. And then you can address some of the operational areas as I spoke about. How do you do some bit of cost optimization? How do you do some bit of service level transformation? How do you bring more visibility on a real-time basis? How do you leverage technology to digitize, negotiate better? I'll give you an example. We learned that in context of shipping lines, in last say year or so, year and a half or so, before pandemic, the service level to deliver products by various shipping lines used to operate towards 70 odd percent, which means when you are looking at inbound or outbound leg of working with the shipping lines to get your products delivered, you could have a 70% accuracy on the performance of the shipping lines to deliver products to you in a timely way. That piece has gone down to as low as 30%. But our organizations today, taking this insights into account in planning the availability or visibility of the products as you plan and get ready for delivering the products for your future, answer is still no. Right? So we can give many such examples of where organizations have leveraged technology-led decisions, insights, historically or predictably in future to be able to run the way they have repivoted their supply chains, and technology is playing a substantially huge role across the value chain in the way you do procurement, in the way you do planning, in the way you do execution, in the way you negotiate, in the way you bring visibility, in the way you predict availability for upstream or downstream availability of the products to your customers.
So in short, giving the right insights and the right information and data when needed the most.
Digitize the value chain and then harness the power of data which this digitization brings to be able to run much more smarter supply chains.
My name is Mohammed Asheri. I'm working for the CEO's office at Noon. I'm a specialist in the special projects team. Thank you for bringing up the MFC projects and its kind of future potential. What I would add in specificity is that there is the new emerging industries in AI and data harnessing. Companies are more and more going towards finding out more data about the competition, about what they're doing or what they're planning through service providers. You can find some of them use innovative ways of capturing the data. I'll give you one example. A company like Measurable AI in China, they use an app called Reward Me app, where you can see the consumer's e-receipt data through taking that is taken from that app. So that's one that came to my mind, and there's another one called Sensor Tower as well. So all of these companies are now going into the sphere of data, so they can provide these to their kind of clients, so they can get as much, so the clients can benefit as much as possible in order to prepare for the future. That is one way. The other way, of course, is the using artificial intelligence, just like what was mentioned by our speaker here. There are more and more services and more abilities to get this done. I completely agree. The TikTok generation is pushing us towards a kind of speedy gratification, so to speak. And what I would say is Gen Z is taking over. And they are changing people's kind of expectations of what they should
They're changing entire industries as well, because with this shift in consumer behavior.
Definitely. But for now, it's on groceries. For now, the focus is on groceries because it's more than 60% of consumer consumption in the retail market. So anyone who dominates groceries will dominate e-commerce. And unfortunately, we're facing a tremendous competitor coming from Germany. I don't know if anyone knows about Delivery Hero, and where they're operating and their strategies and so on. They are very much keen on dominating markets, and the Middle East, Latin America, excuse me, Southeast Asia are very important markets for them. So, but gradually there will be a consolidation. They have divested before, so with time one would see how things develop. I monitor this because I worked with them. Then I went to the competition. I actually started the first MFC project for them here with the founding team. So, and they are now the top grocery seller, even exceeding Carrefour. Exceeding all of the, and maybe some of you know them in the KSA. They're called Quick Market. They are a section in Hunger Station. This is the top seller, grocery seller, e-grocery seller in the whole country. And they've actually, so to speak, became brought record numbers, in KSA. Nobody thought that you can exceed 5,000 orders per day. They've went to as much as 15,000, and now above 20,000 orders per day.
Thank you.
In 20 cities, yeah.
Thank you so much for the insights, and thank you for joining us. I would love to hear your take on this, Nair. From a logistics solution provider, what key technologies have impacted your operations and helped you mitigate the impact of the recent disruptions?
Yeah, I would like to add, and I interrupted, I'm sorry for Paresh, I interrupted in between. Actually, I was a bit excited on this last
I was quite keen to hear your thoughts for sure.
I'm willing to tell that, okay, for the groceries, for the FMCG, a small carton, it can be carried in a car or in a small vehicle to the consumer. But for the industrial products, which is more than 35 kg heavier, and you need to bring it to your customers, end users, I mean the consumers, they are, keep on calling to the toll-free numbers, and the toll-free number is continuously engaged. A lot of we are facing for the industrial products. Our products are almost 35 kg and above, all our products, single unit. So what happens, I was thinking about launching last mile. I discussed, in fact, with Sandeep, if he is here, about the subject. Last mile, like Uber, there are many. Uber is carrying passengers, of course, and some of the companies, they are delivering small products in a small, in car or pickup or some, like hunger station. But for the heavier product, we need to have a kind of last mile solutions. I told Sandeep that I have in my mind to launch next year.
You mean on an industrial level?
For the industrial, yes, because I am 100% into the industrial supply chain, so I will not be able to comment more on the e-commerce and the other business because I did not penetrate into it. So for the industrial products, it is highly in my opinion, we are lacking the technology to carry the products to the consumers, and consumers in behavior in Saudi Arabia and the GCC country is like they ask at the time of placing the order that what time you will be delivering it to us, and we say 24 hours. 24 hour means if it is not in 24 hours, not even in 48 hours, really it
to engage the hotline more.
Yeah, hotline is not solving the problem. You know why? Because the guys who are attending the calls, they also don't know. They have handed over to Noon, they have handed over to Nakal, they have handed over to, the consignments has been given to some of the transport companies, the freight forwarders or the last mile, but ultimately.
But by law, you're required to tell them the time. This is something, this recent regulation has required this. So
so
even for individuals, they have to mention the time of arrival to the customer.
Yeah, they are saying 5 p.m. in the evening, I will be at home, deliver me in Al-Asra. 24 hours. I said, no, Al-Asra is very difficult, so 48 hours. They agreed, but even after 48 hours, it is not being delivered there. And I'm using the services of Nakal. I'm sorry.
So basically, it's the lack of visibility.
Visibility is one of the
and I think sometimes the people take, okay, we will try as an obligation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you say I will try, that means you will make it in a shorter time, and then they start calling after maybe 10 hours while you told them 48.
So what I am looking for is a technology support from Pando and from the team here. That like Uber, we are giving, we are hiring on our mobile devices Uber services, and he is coming at our doorstep. He is taking us, and I can share with my family where I am on the way, where it is, what kind of thing. So in a last mile technology application, I'm looking for a mobile application and web application, not only for the individuals but for the corporate also. Like corporate, if we put one, you can say one employee on the like every day. Suppose if it is 100 consignments are there, he will be selecting like by the volume of the consignment. He will be selecting. He needs a diner. He needs a trailer. He needs a small car or whatever, a pickup. With a lever or without a lever. So I need that kind of support.
So pretty much an integrated ecosystem with different stakeholders that gives
There
you
will be
visibility.
single stakeholder, the consumer
Okay.
who has ordered, the business owners who have who is going to give the supplies, the forwarder or in between logistics people. So these three, I have seen by the time last few months before when I was in India, I see one application. It is not very popular at this time in India. It is called Porter, and I have seen that they are doing good. And you can select from your choice. You need which kind of truck and the dimension. Everything is mentioned. It is very familiar. So I would like the technology partners to explore the possibilities and support me if I could, push forward to my, bosses to
Perfect. Okay, we're already getting business deals here in between you guys. That's perfect. Okay, we're still going to be in the logistics providers segment. Now, do you believe that the infrastructure, the technology infrastructure in the Saudi market, to be specific, is ready for this transition, is ready to accommodate such solutions, or do you see it far from happening?
Since the pandemic, I believe that supply chain was always treated as an operational or tactical task. And then after the pandemic, medium-sized companies realized that they are sitting on huge data, a huge amount of information, unstructured way, which they can utilize it. And the government realized it way ahead of time. But the medium-sized companies realized it, I believe they realized it after the pandemic itself. And the data, I still believe that to close the gap between IT and supply chain is data. I believe still the technology, you cannot see that, still is far behind because you are connected with a lot of stakeholders. Customer has his own demand, supplier has his own demand. You have to keep your owners happy. Still, that technology is not there to connect B2B businesses with supply chain. Again, we deal in B2B healthcare products. So again, our equipments are, one container, 2 containers, 3 containers. So timing is always the key for us because where the time is there, the shorter the time, the more the profit I make. And we are always, used to do hedging of currencies, which was again a tactical and operational task. But now we are looking at own infrastructure, own data, that the processes should be standardized to adopt the new policies which are coming through from the government and from the corporate government in size. So I still feel that we are behind as companies, except large corporations who have big bank balances and have researcher teams who can do researches on on individually regular basis with the customer. But medium-sized companies are still lagging behind because they have only one runner to run the show. He has to see the customer, he has to see the logistic, he has to see the supplier, then he has to tackle with finance. So all these things, I still feel that the infrastructure is not visible. But I believe since this hike of the buzzword of digital transformation, where AI, RPA, which I believe is very promising, but still we are behind, and still we need time to learn at least from our own procedure first before we opt for new things. Because
so the impediments
yeah.
coming from the regulations side, we don't have the right regulations in the market, and also the transition itself is delayed from the corporate sides.
No, regulations, there are some regulations, but usually that the regulation timing is very tight. We have given less time to just quickly adapt and be prepared. And lot us hit and go is going that let us be 60% correct, 40% we will see it on the later stage. So still companies are not ready, and still I believe in the kingdom itself, the private companies where they are little bit behind from the IT research point of view. I believe it can be a new strategic initiative that let research how to transform your own processes first before we think what is happening outside the world.
Perfect. Ashik, I would love to hear your take on this. How do you think we can expedite this transition? Is it through more investments? Is it through spreading awareness and trying to change the mindset of companies? Because the transition is going to happen either way. But do you see the lack of regulation? Do you see the lack of data? Do you see the mindset of the business community here, especially in the logistics providers?
Yeah, lack of awareness. So many rules and regulations have been changed from customs perspective, but people doesn't know this. Especially there is no clear visibility in customs clearance part. Logistic companies are trying to integrate like big companies like Nakel, DHL, Aramex, and all. They are, but in terms of B2C clearance, now customs is much more better. Integration is going on. There is a company called ELM. It's a part of IT sector of customs, and they are integrating, and they are much more better like Dubai. But in terms of B2B, it's right. We doesn't have any visibility in clearance. So many things are there. Mainly, people need awareness. What is the regulation changing these things?
Do you believe, in addition to the lack of awareness, is it also the lack of players, the technology players in the market? Don't we have enough solutions in the market to cater for these different companies?
Yes, you are right. There is not much technology people here like Dubai. Dubai, you have so much. But here, very limited companies, and even big shots like Aramex and all, they have their own solution internally. We need more technology here.
Yeah,
Please.
Just to add on, I think two things happened in the past 10 years. I think the SMEs and the mid-sized companies who were not able to invest in technologies, this startup ecosystem that bloomed in the past decade, wherein which a lot of disruptions has happened, especially in logistic technology, in the ecosystem. If you look into a normal FedEx page, every segment has been disrupted with a startup that's coming. And we have seen it because we have a strategy of investing in startups, technologies that are disrupting our core business. So you have a hedge, both using the technology as well as the business. What we see is there are a good number of technologies that has come. Maybe the giants and the SMEs or the MSEs might not be able to invest, but there is a room which has been taken over by these startups. If you look in the trucking space, we have big companies like Truckers, which is like a $200 million, $300 million company. Every segment within the supply chain, you will find a startup that's been disrupting it. And there are huge investment that's happened. Now, even if you look into, I think last year or this year in the GCC alone, we have more than $5 billion of investments in the startup. And I think a big chunk has been going during the pandemic to this logistic tech. And I think if the big companies don't invest, there'll always be some disruptor who will come very agile, very quick, and take your market share. And this is what's happened in the past 5 years. And that's adding to the e-commerce boom that happened. And I think this region has quite a right recipe, right? You have a very young population. The smartphone penetration is around 99%. The technology, you're talking of 5G that's come in. So the infrastructure is there. On the demand side, you have the consumers using it. It's only that the gap is not filled by the big companies, the corporates, but it's filled by the startups who are taking this gap. They are filling the gap across the supply chain.
I'm glad that you brought this market in specific, because it's no secret that Saudi Arabia is transitioning into a world-leading logistics hub. And it's going to happen sooner or later, and there's going to be a lot of competition from the big players in the market. But I can tell that the Saudi administration is actually very keen on achieving this over the upcoming few years. In your opinion, Osama, how do you see how can we expedite this transition from the corporate side of things?
Well, you touch on a very important point, which is the regulatory environment. I think the Saudi government is moving now faster than everyone. It is faster than us, honestly. Maybe because we're moving from here to here directly using the latest technology, where we have to progress as companies, whether service providers or manufacturers. So I think first we need to open that door with the regulatory environment to understand what they're doing, so that we are getting ready. This integration, for example, I recall on the express side, when Ilm came in and customs said, you have 3 months, you need to finish your integration. Only 5 companies have done it.
Yes.
And the rest, no one was able. We had some companies that closed down until they fixed the IT issue. So you are closed down because you don't, not because you're not delivering the right service, because you don't have the right IT capabilities. So you see where the government has reached now to a level that is...
So the regulation is there, however,
there.
The ecosystem itself is not ready for the change.
I think companies need to evolve. The old way of doing things is over.
Sorry, if I can add to this, Osama, he's absolutely right. The speed is different. The speed is taking everything from a regulatory point of view. I remember a meeting that I had with some of the officials in SFDA. They were telling me it's simple as that. We're not walking, we're not running, we are sprinting actually. So if you catch up with us or you can't. So the name of the game, honestly speaking, is be prepared for the next. Because when it comes, it will give you a very short period of time. You're either with us on the bus or you're out. As simple as that. So being prepared for it and being ahead of the game is a key critical factor to this. And if I can answer your earlier question when you were talking about what do I need as a customer from actually a logistics provider, it's as simple as first is the IT and the integration. I don't have to send you my orders through emails and through Excel sheets and stuff. You have to come to me, here's your system, my system, let the system talk together. So I can have the visibility on this one. And the other side, I mean, working with the providers here and working with providers in Europe, in UK, for example, key aspects as well, which is not on the radar right now, is the efficiency. That we can sit together as a customer and service provider and said, okay, how we can drive efficiency on the line. This is something that I'm missing here. I'm missing going into the control tower room in my distributor in UK and seeing a huge room full of screens that monitor each and every truck where it's going and when it's happening at the end of the day. And at any point of time, you have a call or a customer service agent that you can call and ask, okay, where's this truck? It's in front of him. He can give you immediate information. So leveraging such a technology and providing visibility, integration, and efficiency on the service as well is a key 3 things for me.
I just want to point out on something. And I think the control tower you have mentioned is definitely the way forward, not only for manufacturing, but for all services, especially those utilizing many aspects of logistics. But we tend to forget something. I think Pando is also here. They have a control tower product. Yes. Yeah. We tend to forget something. Technology, processes are nothing without human beings, whatever you do. We're going to move into AI, we're going to move into RPA, whatever. You're going to go back and talk about who's managing this. And currently what we're facing in Saudi in terms of logistic talent is really bad. We can't find good operators. We can't find good logistics people. We have discussed this with the government a couple of times during the Express Commission that we had with CITC. And there was the creation a year ago of the Saudi Logistics Academy, which Abdul Latif Jamil also participated in. That was an Ajax also, I think, is part of it. And we have the first delivery. We took four Saudis. It's 100% Saudized. 2 ladies and 2 gentlemen. And I could tell you that they are perfect.
Right.
So just an advice for those who are planning to go, because you talked about industrial supply chain. logistics is becoming industrial. So I think only industrial engineers will be successful in the future. We tried also. It works perfectly. We tried with our friends from UBT and SAI, and it's coming. Industrial engineers are the right fit for logistics going forward. This is just an advice to all peers and colleagues in case they are looking for new talent.
Can I add one thing regarding the concern was mentioned here? I think the issue, the reason why B2B is not as adequately served as business to customer, is because of priority. There is a priority on SMEs. There's a priority on supporting them first, because they are the backbone of the economy. There is very little focus on supporting the big existing players, because they know they will be there later. So it's better to support the smaller players, those who engage in business to customer first. That's why regulations is serving them first, then going for the rest. Also, I would like to say the reason why you're seeing this is because of the global situation. So this is a kind of, let's say, a special case, an exception. We cannot measure on this kind of particular case. And also what Osama has mentioned as well, when it comes to the local talent. I would agree, industrial engineers are necessary, but I would add one more thing. It's true, the training is important, but add an apprenticeship program. So you take in the talent, but attach him to an existing talent to be his, let's say, apprentice or something like this, or future replacement. So this one, I would think it would be a success. There's a program by the government, it's called Tamhir. Maybe you know it, yeah. So this is the apprenticeship program. That is, by the way, it's funded by the government. So you don't need to give him a salary. They will pay his salary completely. All you need to do is just transfer the skill. You transfer the skill, he's there later on.
Yeah,
and then you can neglect. You don't have to keep him if he's not doing well. That's it. Thank you. Here's the certificate of experience. Go to a company that has lesser kind of constraints than us, and so on.
The kingdom has a huge wealth of young generation, in my opinion. I mean, as he said, the Tamhir guys, they come, and we ending up hiring them. Like we take them. Last year, we have hired maybe like 10 of them. Due to, you know, when the pandemic happened and there was a lot of redundancy and things like that, so we had to, and then the market started to come back again, so we added some people, and then they are actually doing so well, so we started adding them to our team. Having this young generation, and they have the money as well, so that they do a lot of SMEs, which help the big players in doing that. So the Saudi market, in my opinion, is designed, and it's coming, and it will happen. I don't agree to the artificial intelligence, because I think they will end up the human part very soon. They just need to learn, because they are still on the learning stage. Like, I hate when I call the bank and then this Eva reply to me or whoever. But Eva is learning and starting to cover my needs in this. There is a big part also related to the security. There has to be some human part, but I mean the artificial intelligence part also is
to maintain the security of these technology solutions.
We have it in all our infrastructure. Like you guys have this monitoring place. We have that for the building. Each and every machine in the building, we know exactly what's happening, what's the cooling system doing, and how is it doing. And you asking about the AC, it's just a button there down here. They should actually raise it, and then they can do it. So definitely this is coming, and as I said, the Saudi market is very well designed to it. Unlike, I can say, the Egyptian market is also designed to it, but we lack the infrastructure and the technology.
Okay.
Here, it is there. So I think it's happening very soon.
The key features that you're looking for in a technology solution to help you mitigate the impact of the disruptions, and also the expedite the transition towards a more sustainable, more technologically advanced future of supply chains.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to go around the table and discuss these priorities from your respective segments. So if you were to highlight two key features? Would that be visibility? Would that be adaptability to your existing ecosystems? Would it be the ability to be integrated into your current systems?
Yes, it's integration and visibility. That's the moment.
Okay.
The integration is very important. That the supplier or the vendor system has to be integrated to mine. Especially at the moment, you have this electronic invoices and things like that. All this has to be easy talking to my system so that I can run the process easally.
Perfect. What do you think, Mohammed?
As I told you, for me, integration, visibility, efficiency.
Adding to that, totally agree with that. As a F&B, as a restaurant, we never use a single system for entire company, because ERP side there will be a separate, like we use Microsoft Dynamics. For the supply chain side, we use some SCM software, either Oracle or some third party on. So integration main role. Until today, we are still facing. They are integrated. Still there is a mistakes. So IT part is a big challenge for us, because even after integration, if it is not successful.
So integration and the reliability of the solution itself.
Still manually we are checking, because there is a mistake.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is a mistake.
In our industry as well, we get these small contractors who are not equipped. So I have to hire somebody who is sitting, taking his invoice, the manual one, putting it on the system, and raise it, because our finance will not accept something written by hand. So I have this person who is sitting, just a SAP operator or whatever.
We have a menu for this each. Yep.
This is a great insight. However, we would like to stay on the track of what people are looking for in a technology solution to mitigate the impact again of the disruptions and expedite the transition, especially in the Saudi market. Nair, what's your take on this?
I have just shared this, a small slide, wherein I was trying to, focus during the early 2022, that what are the challenges we are facing in the industrial supply chain, and I come across the top 6. Mr. Sama, he added that the people are the key factors along all this. So I will just explain it here. That what happened that I created all my disruptions. Where are the challenges? That supply chain capability, people and organization both are required to have equally value addition is required from the people and from the, like we are having people in our organization who are not running with the pace of the technology. They still want to work in Excel rather than on the ERP solution. So all these challenges are there. In fact, if we can, and each 6 of this is related to the technology. We need the technology solutions for the first one I write here is disrupted shipping lanes and port congestion. Of course, the port technology, how technology will be adding value to it. The congestion was self-created between the trade war between China and America. I do not know about this.
Maybe if a solution offers visibility, full visibility end to end, that would give you proper insights to plan accordingly.
Yeah. So of course I'm saying somewhere all these 6 points, what the challenges I have mentioned here, they are somewhere related with the technology enhancement for the visibility, for many other things. Okay. So this is why I show this slide, because I was talking about Osama was talking about people and organization. Yes, this is biggest factor in Saudi Arabia, and we need to improve we need to invest in the training for our people to whom we are hiring. We need to invest in technology as well as people.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, from this side of the table.
I think 4 things. One is, I think 2 of them, as already mentioned, was integration and visibility, and I think agility in terms of how agile is the system. With the processes changing, I think you cannot have this block dinosaurs which won't push for the new processes. I think that's one thing. And second thing is, of course, as few mentioned, there's a talent deficit. If when I say talent deficit in terms of implementation partners, you might have a solution, but you need an implementation local partner.
So also the collaboration. You need a solution that offers this ability to the capacity for collaboration between different stakeholders.
Yeah, so that's on the integration side. So the way the software solution, I think we need a local partner for implementation. So it's not like off the shelf we buy, but the partnership is more with the implementation partner. And I see where people, couch of ERP solutions going bust is the reason is that the implementation partner is the wrong choice. So if you have the right choice of the implementation partner, he can really be a value add for the whole implementation. So just a software solution is not enough for us. I think, and as you mentioned, it's more of a cocktail of solutions which we use now. But what we believe is your core, you need to develop it in-house, and the non-core you outsource, which is any non-core like the finance, HR, all those non-core can be outsourced to any third party. But the core should most probably in-house.
In-house.
So if it's ours is logistics, our logistic core system should be in-house, because that's where it becomes agile. Because you have your programmers and you can ask them to change here and there. But when it's dependencies to third parties, that's where it becomes change orders. You have more outlay of your TCO, overall TCO increases. This is what I have.
Perfect. From your standpoint, Naeem, what do you look for in a technology solution?
First of all, I agree with Mr. Sameh about the intervention of the human being. If we're talking about the AI, how they can predict the pandemic or predict the war or something like that. So the contribution of the human being is there, it must be there. Second, I agree with my colleague that there is no full solution. There's one system to give you all the solutions for your processes, and give you one system to give you everything for the supply chain. The third point is the right partner. To be honest, we had a lot of let's say companies communicated, they started the project together, then after that we stopped it because they cannot integrate with our system, they cannot deliver what they have promised. So there is an issue to have the right partner. Third, also there is, as we said, there's a big gap between the companies and the government. So we need a partner who give us the sandbox for 3 months, 4 months to work together to see the fruit of that system, and if it is fruitful for us, fit for us or not. So up to now there is no a right partner who give you these things, give you the sandbox to work together 3 months, give you full solution for your from ERP, all the systems.
So to sum up, I think we all agree that the main factors would be, or the main features would be visibility, integration, adaptability, and also having the right technology providing partner to meet your requirements, to meet the specific requirements of your business. Parvesh,
Really, I'm talking about the big names in worldwide, Oracle, or what name it, as you wish.
To describe
implementation is a big
implementation is the issue. In terms of detail, let me give you a little brief. What happens in F&B as a restaurant side or even a hotel side? Our POS system will be one, and our back-end inventory system will be one, and our financial ERP system will be one. So, three of them will never give one company solution.
So again,
integration.
We need an integrated system.
And these three companies, how much they have put effort also good integration, still there is a lack.
What does Pando do to solve these 3 pain points?
Actually, we can ask Parvesh, since he's the technology expert.
Exactly.
Now, Parvesh, having heard all the opinions from the gents at the round table, how do you think technology can address these mandates and address these requirements?
Sure. Thanks, Karim. I hope you can hear me. Let me briefly, respond to the gentleman who said what Pando does. So Pando basically works very closely in an integrated way with your core ERP value chain, and then manages the entire execution life cycle of products, which means the whole transportation across multiple modes, warehousing, and then the whole order management capabilities which come into play. This is where Pando plays a role, right? And how does it help organizations? Typically, if you have to look at trying to reduce your freight cost, we can help. If you have to bring visibility, we can help. If you want to reduce or improve the service levels in the way you deliver products to your customers, we can help. If you want to build sustainability in your business, we can help. And if you want to reduce what we call as a turnaround time of products to be delivered across multiple modes, Pando platform can help, right? So I will just maybe sum it up. My apologies, I have to just drop out. I will just sum it up on a note. At Pando, most of our customers across different parts of the world, US, India, Asia Pacific, who have leveraged our technology, they are large Oracle or SAP ERP customers, and they found significant value to partner with Pando despite having some of these large, I'll use the word enterprise platforms, because of the nimbleness and the new age tech capabilities that we bring in, and we make it coexist seamlessly integrated with your core backend ERP platforms, right? We do a very interesting exercise. We call them as the process benchmarking exercise. If any one of you in this room would want to get Pando engaging with you to do a little bit of a process benchmarking across key supply chain execution KPIs or parameters to see how do you operate as an organization compared to the peer group companies, I think do drop a word to Sandeep or Rohit in the room, and then we'll be more than happy to try and see how do we work with you and your teams to be able to help you to see what are the areas of opportunities in your supply chain execution where technology could play a significant and large role, right? So on that note, I will possibly, I'll say shukran like the way I started, to everyone in this room. Thank you so much. Really appreciate. I think it was great learning and interaction to hear the kind of challenges that you called out or the opportunities that you called out for your respective businesses. I can at least say that having interacted with customers in different parts of the world, these are not uniquely different, and the way we help them to leverage technology, I think we can play a very, very strong role. In case anyone of you feel the need to spend some more time beyond today's roundtable, do let our teams know, and we'll be more than happy to try and spend some time. Thank you so much. Have a great time together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, gents, this brings our discussion for today to an end. Thank you so much for your remarkable insights, and thank you so much for representing your segments. I do believe they were represented the best way possible. I've learned a lot, and thank you.
Thank you.
It was great having you here.